Welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying everything so far. How's everybody feeling out there? Let us know in the comments some of your feedback, and let's keep this engaged. If you guys have questions along the way, feel free to drop them in the comments, and let's just create this really interactive and fun experience as we go through the day.
Yeah, I'm just reading some of the comments here and private messages that people are sending the page, and they're just saying how this was so needed. This was the right place at the right time. They just begged that all of this change in this world right now has been giving them so much more clarity. And why did this happen? And now all of this is making more sense with viewing us on the conference today. So yeah, I'm not usually speechless. I'm just like in such gratitude and just honor that this really is where the nation is coming together, and why we did move the platform from Shanice's Niches to the Niche Nation and bringing us all to do this work together. So without any other delay, we would love to bring in a woman that is one of a kind. We had the honor of meeting her on the beautiful Vancouver Island on a journey that right before we were coming to steward the Rock Lake Earth Lodge, we met Bobbi. And it was an instantaneous connection, love, joy, and giggles. And when we got to peel back the formalities of just meeting each other, to understanding more of each other's stories, the mission, the journey really set a whole different kind of direction for what our world was meant to be connected with Bobbi. So Bobbi, we'd love to bring you on in.
Good morning. Oh, I'm really zoomed in.
You'll be good. Once I leave, it'll be a little wider, so you're good.
Okay. Oh, I got a good chuckle when you said I'm not very often speechless, Shanice.
I know, right?
Yeah, I know. It's been amazing. I've had the opportunity to do a little bit of listening while I've been preparing, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This day wouldn't be anything without our Bobbi a part of it. So
well, it's been very interesting for me to kind of reflect back too, right? Because I've had the changes. So it's like, very interesting that you'd asked me to do this. And yeah, it's bringing up a lot of interesting feelings and reflection, and really making me think about what reclaim might mean for myself right now. And I'm not even 100% sure. I'm sure what that is, but I know I've definitely come a long way.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting when I was setting out the invites for all the speakers. People are like, I don't think I've got it all figured out, or I don't think I'm even at that climax of what reclaim is. And what we really have taught in our environmental background to now into the mental health and the body and the connection element of it, we are at different stages. And maybe it's just figuring out what is that first information. But honestly, what we have been able to share in our own personal exchanges and help also grow with both of us together, I think your key messages and your journey has just so much potency of this medicine about what we think we have to be in this one way, and what happens when that might not spark and light us up anymore, to now, okay, we're going to change it, but then now, oh wait, I kind of miss having both aspects of that, right? So let's dig in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that showed up for me in focusing back, so a bit of my history is I was a professional inspirational children's performer as a clown for over 20 years. And I loved doing what I did because I loved to make people happy and feel good. And then I came across, I was literally mowing the lawn one day when the lyrics to a song came to me. I always wanted to have a song that would become an international dance movement to celebrate diversity and inclusion and for us to just believe in ourselves. And the word I was always, it was kind of the chicken and the egg scenario. What comes first, the dance or the song? And it's really quite a fun story and its whole uh, coming together and how it came to fruition. But it ended up being the song came first. So what happened is I was mowing the lawn and I got the words to this song and I called it the Ripple Effect Dance. And at some point I'll tell you the lyrics. But through that process, as I was building it, I realized that I was bullied as a child, which I believe many of us have. And unfortunately, now it's like an epidemic for because of online for youth. But I was bullied as a child. And even I remember as a teenager trying to fit in, I would make myself look goofy. You know, like I'd be the backdrop of a baseball game. I'd be the catcher, but I'd black out my tooth and I'd put freckles on. And I just, because I figured if people are going to laugh at me, I'm going to give them a reason to laugh. And I became a clown and it was so serendipitous. Like I was needing a job. A friend of mine said, "Oh, you're so good with kids. Maybe you want to try being a clown." And I went to a thrift store, and they had a huge box of brand new sequin running shoes. And so I bought one of every color and I took them home and I lined them up. And my husband came home and he said, "What is this?" And I said, "I'm going to be a clown. It's a sign." And so I did. I just followed that. I followed my heart. It's always the messaging. When the ripple effect came together, I really realized that I'd spent my whole life trying to fit in. And even where I really caught it is I have on my YouTube channel as Auntie Bobbi, we were doing a series of videos. And I literally wrote it in the script. "Auntie Bobbi, we found a place for you to fit in." And it just felt like it was the right thing. But then as I was working on the Ripple Effect Dance Project, I realized that if we spend a lifetime trying to fit in, we're always changing who we are in order to fit wherever it is we think we'd like to fit in. But if we just believe in ourselves and accept ourselves for who we are, I'm getting goosebumps even saying it, then we find out where we belong. And I think that is the most important. It's not about fitting in or being where you think, or at least I should speak for myself, where I think I wanted to be. It was about really just allowing myself to come into who I truly am as Bobbi and let my tribe and my people and my where I belong to come to me. And it's been a beautiful journey that's taken me to places I never would have expected to have be. So, for example, living here.
Right. And honestly, when I met you and you shared that you were this inspiration and this clown, and then that story about fitting in, it just brought me to the beginning of my own story with Shanice's Niches, was that I had been to medicine elders. I have journeyed through oracle readings. I had a half done Doreen Virtue reading course card, certification done. And I had all of my oracle and cards and stuff stashed and all my, medicines stashed. And I literally was ripped out of the oil patch. I was done with it. I hit my rock bottoms with it. And I literally started working at a flower shop. And at that flower shop, I met this lady where I got the term meat suits from. And she talked about how this is about how stuck are you going to be in your meat suits and how are you going to deal with this and all of these different layers. And there's more to the story. But what I did then is literally on St. Patrick's Day, the cafe and flower shop owner said, hey, we're doing a St. Patrick's Day, gathering theme, kind of like they had a little Irish Celtic band and jigging, and we had different kind of cakes and sandwiches and teas that we were serving. And then she's like, I just feel like we're not interacting enough with the people. Do you feel like you could do maybe like a little card readings or something? And I said, sure. Like, I am redneck out of all get out. I'm still raw from not wearing my coveralls. I still had my traditional 3/4 length coverall marks and tans, and I said, sure. And so I dressed up as Lucy the Lucky Leprechaun.
I love it.
And so when you shared that story about, like it was destined, I didn't feel comfortable being Shanice's niches. I had to be Lucy the Lucky Leprechaun to bring you these good fortune and these good tales, right? So that fitting in part was huge, because I did a reading for a lady who was very big in the area, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do with these cards. I think this is how it work, and I'm gonna put it down, and that's gonna be there. And when she finished, when I was doing the reading and I was finishing, she said this was the best reading I had over in 25 years of being read. And she's like, how do you know this? How do you do this? And I said, I don't know. I think I just was doing what I was doing. So I think that's exactly where a lot of people get stuck in their reclaiming process, is that they think that they still have to be this identity, because we're so scared to maybe let go of that little, no more jokes and freckles. What if they're going to actually laugh to our soul? What if they're going to laugh at our actual essence? And I think that was just both your and I's biggest journey, is just to find out who are we without the cloak, without the stage names and things like that.
Yeah. And I would say, that was very much a piece of it, was that it was people, like as I was younger, it was the people that were laughing at my essence, because I just loved everybody. And it made no sense to me why people would be mean to me when I just wanted to love everybody, which also brought me to having no boundaries. So I think my mask was what created a boundary, for lack of a better term, not a very good one, really, because it was more of a boundary of my own personal self than the boundary of having a safe boundary from somebody coming into my space. And so I really love that idea. And even now, like at 60, just really coming out from that, behind that mask, and not knowing what it was. And then I was all set up for a lot of gigs. So I had come out from behind the mask. I dropped the makeup. I was still performing, and I was doing the Ripple Effect Dance Project, which it's beautiful. And that'll be, when I do the end, that'll be my question for the audience, and will be, what ripple do you want to begin? And once I got out from behind the mask, then I had this whole beautiful summer planned. I was doing all sorts of openings. Like, all of a sudden I was there. I wasn't, because I used to put myself through a lot I think that's where I realized it. I'd put my makeup on, I'd get in my car looking like a clown. And let's face it, cute or not everybody likes clown. Like, they freak out a lot of people. So I'd get everything from people laughing to like doing anything not to look at me but I felt really uncomfortable until I landed at the party. And then I kind of, I fit in and I had somewhere to belong. So it was recognizing that uncomfortable feeling that I had as a kid, as an adult, and I carried it through my teens. And here I am now, I'm an adult and like into my 50s and feeling this way still. So it was so interesting that followed me. So when COVID hit and we were put into lockdown, I did this amazing walk in a labyrinth with a horse. And I don't know, this is where I realized, like, I would get feelings in my stomach or whatever. And I always thought something was wrong. So I'm walking this labyrinth with the horse, and I just thought, going to be so nice. It'll be beautiful. Just me and this horse walking the labyrinth, and it's going to be so magical. Well, of course, as I'm sure you know, horses are very intuitive. And I was to be the leader. And I was walking with the horse, and then all of a sudden the horse just stopped. It just wouldn't move. And somehow I had a story, even though it wasn't true, that people didn't want to be with me, or didn't, there was something deep inside. I never really knew what it was, but it was that was kind of it. It was about what did I do wrong? It was always something I did, which in hindsight I learned is very egotistical to think that whatever's going on in somebody else's life even has anything to do with me. That was another learn. But the lady who owned the farm was like, you really have to be the lead. Like you got to get this horse to go. And it didn't want to go. And I was trying to do it nice and all those things. And all of a sudden that feeling that I had in my body with humans that they don't like me or they don't want to be with me was showing up with this horse. So that was my first eye opener going, that's very interesting, whatever this feeling is, which I never grew up. My parents were kids raising kids. We never talked about feelings and what was, physically going on in the body. But then we fast forward and it's lockdown. And all of a sudden we're all vulnerable. Everybody's in the same position. That same feeling that people didn't want to be with me showed up, even though my logical mind knew. Like I logically knew nobody could come and see me. My body was giving me that same energy and messaging that I thought was a true story. That wasn't a true story, but I thought it was a true story in my body, like, because I made it true. So that's when I went, okay, girlfriend, we got some work to do. And so I did a lot of work. And that's where I realized self-compassion is so important, and allowing the feelings. And that was a journey I needed to go through, to not be mad at myself and say things to myself I would never say to you as my friend. I would never say that to a little girl in a corner who was feeling like I was feeling. I wouldn't say, oh, for fuck's sakes, get your head out of your ass, right? Like I just would not say that, which is what I was saying to myself. So I had to really, in that journey, I'm actually grateful for that time because it really gave me a chance to go inside and be really self-compassionate and allow those feelings that still will come sometimes in a different form. It's a different form, but it really changed what it meant to come out from behind the mask. To me, it was kind of more of a metaphor. Like I hadn't really felt it at a deep level. And so I get that feeling of wanting to be behind a mask, and it was a little uncomfortable trying to just be me. And then that's when I transferred into what I do today, which is Ayurveda head massage, because I still like to make people feel good. But it was just that realizing that it's really okay and it's safe. And I think that was a big thing with figuring out where I belong. The people who came around into my world, such as yourself and Brody and others, that it was where I was really safe to just be me. I really didn't have an option to be anybody else because they weren't interested in whatever that character was, right? So I get that. And it is interesting, right? Like, what did you, when you realized that it took that for yourself to feel like that awareness? I think the thing that I love and I kind of hate about awareness, because once we're aware and paying attention,
Yep.
it stays. Like it's like lifelong learning. It's staying. Like I can never go back to autopilot again.
And I think that's where when this channeling of this reclaim and how do we share more people and do all this stuff, because let's face it, it has been one hell of a roller coaster, this existence. And that's where it's just like, even from, connecting with souls at your journey and your ripeness of, glowing age and doing those things, we're all now in the same narrowing of the tunnel. And that's exactly like you're saying. It's either you're masking up or you're masking off, because there's not much more we can do at this point, because we're so blasted. Like, I've got 5 different platforms right now that's showing our faces all over this, because it's literally giving us all of this exposure and now surfacing these layers, good, bad, or ugly, that now we have to really understand, are we going to be able to keep up that act? And what is that going to be as a toll on us if we're going to keep that up? Or what is it that we will have to pay the toll booth right now, pay the piper, and then enter in this new awareness, this new expansion, or this adventure, once we realize that this no longer has to set in this stage. So I think that's where, exactly like you're saying, we have to really understand, why did we have to hide? Because that layer is going to ripple out from everything we do, from a horse to a relationship to a job to your finances, like we've heard throughout this, through your faith and your belief system. So it's okay that when we meet each other on these journeys, you've had some reality calls and chats and check-ins with me. I've had the same thing with you, because as we're all kind of like literally trudging through these trenches, these are sometimes war and battles we didn't realize we were playing in our ancestral lineage, or a societal battle, or figuring out a government dumpster that we're just like, oh, there's actually something else that we can play in, right? I'm not a big gamer, but it's almost like there's a whole other, map that we can discover. So I think it just comes back to, like, how did we get from that? Like some of the other speakers talked about today, is just like, how do we come from that soldier, that victim, into victor, into warrior, right? And just really understanding how to have that compassion, like you said, because sometimes a lot of us, we don't come from a home that had compassion. Right. And that really, when we connected, that really gave me something different, that I didn't have that support like I used to on that family figure, that it was just kind of like, you have been that little like sense of that angel back into my life again, because it just made me realize, okay, no, we can be soft, we can be compassionate with this moment, and there doesn't have to be analytical, figured out, judged, manipulated, whatever that old programming and masking we used to do to survive. Now we're in thriving. It's hard to understand that.
Yeah. And I think, through some of my trauma therapy and stuff, it was very helpful, because I would say I was a borderline Pollyanna, if not a Pollyanna, right? Like, I just thought everything, if I'm just positive and everything's, gumdrops and lollipops and unicorns, which I really love, and rainbows, then the rest would be okay, but it wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe was what I was putting out here, but it wasn't what was going on in here. But I remember with this one trauma counselor, and it was really, really useful for me, because you just said a key thing. I needed to analyze. I wanted to know, like, where is this coming from? What happened in my life that this came from? And then all of a sudden I realized, might not even be this life. And so here I am, paralysis through analysis of an analysis of something that really can't maybe even be answered. And she said to me, she goes, well, you've done a lot of really good work. Like, you have come a long way in a short time. She said, I wish I had, I could see this kind of growth with more of my clients. And she goes, if you want, we could throw on a backpack and we can grab a pick, and maybe we should get a canary and we can go diving to see, and I don't even know if she had a belief system in past lives. I believe she would, but we could go diving to see, or you could just stop right now and take time to celebrate how far you've come. And that's another area in my life, even to this day, I tend to forget to celebrate the small successes. So then it's still, even though there's the self-compassion, I'm still expecting things, or a little more still self-doubt, and it really works well for my self-fulfilling prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I can kind of keep digging back that way. And I remember doing a technique, I can't remember what it was called. And I really try to do this now. And sometimes I don't want to because I still like that. I'd rather not see the darker side of things. But if I've learned when we see the dark, then it's the light that we can shine on it to go, okay, there's a cobweb I could, dust away and just acknowledge, really, is what I found. It's like this hurt or whatever it was that I was unable to answer. And sometimes I can, but unable to answer. All it's looking for is to be acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, can you just sit with me? Can you just allow me to be seen? I know you don't know where I've come from, but I need you to see me. I need you to kind of deal with me. And for some people, that might be a lot, more. And I'm sure I've got something that I could do some further work on. I know I do. But there's things I can't even remember what they are now because they were so intense, but I allowed myself to feel the feeling. Then I loved myself up for it, and it integrated into my system, which also seemed kind of scary. It's like, ooh, I don't want that to integrate into my system. Well, yeah, we do. Well, wanted that to integrate so then it could just be at peace within my body. And I think those kinds of things are always forward when we're walking with an awareness. Yeah.
And I think, Bobbi, that's exactly the big thesis that I've been crafting in the background with all of this journey of like, I didn't ask of this journey. I didn't think this is where I was. I always say, like, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, do you really think this is what you would be doing right now? I've always said, I'll laugh in your face and say, not a freaking chance. Yeah. This is not what I had planned. I had planned that I would cowboy up, I would hunt all the big game, I would be in all these different layers and have a big family and be married by now and have kids and have a good successful business, and my family would be healed by then, hopefully, and we'd figure it out. And it was just all this master planning. And like everybody you've heard so far, those that have been listening, is that you don't get to control this. You are not God. You don't have to mask up something that you've got it under control just because your childhood or your environment created you to be so responsive and active and moving to that exit or that out, or what was, we better get with the herd, we better move with what this is, instead of, like you said, just take a pause. Take a moment and a breath. And I'm totally guilty of that. I'll be like, okay, so you dealt with that, let's move on to the next thing. And that has been something we've been layering with this working, is because we as a society are so used to convenience that your order is shipped off to you in a day, that your food is in your system in 5 minutes, that your satisfaction to a tentative or anxiety is just doom scrolling. We're so used to having a vape pen. We're so used to having a quick dose of edibles and existences just to feel us out of it, versus it being, okay, I have to go gather water. I have to go get wood. I have to deal with this anger. I have to walk to school. I have to actually just sit and like deal with what a Sunday is when we would used to have a day of rest, right? And I think that has been a huge conversation in Brody and I's homestead here too, is that, we need to stop. Like, look at how much has changed from us living in the trailer on the island before we got to the lodge and meeting you, to now where we are versus where you were at your place, and how much that change had to be. and what your journey was with the Dodge Mahal, right? And learning about what those times are to just really take that moment and pause to validate, like you said, acknowledge that exact digging so that we can now go back and say, okay, in our phase 1 and in our phase 2 discoveries, in phase 3 of what we'll talk about in wrapping this all up in the Reclaim conference is now I have all this information. How do I now deal with all of this input that we have to deal with to make it into its program?
Yeah. And that's a big question. And for me, presence, like really being here right now helps me a lot. It helps me change my story of what I might be growing in my head. That helps me tap in. And you mentioned my Dodge Mahal, which for those that are watching, I have a Dodge Caravan that's a camperized van that's got a pop-up top. So I literally just sometimes hop in my van and just head out to Jordan River and stare at the ocean and journal and just tap in and burn sometimes. And I think that answer, I'm still learning that even for myself. But one of the things that really changed for me as well, and maybe that's because of my intense codependency, was once I realized, like I used to think that what other people thought of me was none of my business, but I definitely always put a lot of weight on that. But what even was more awakening for me in a meeting one time was a lady who just, she was she was definitely looked like she was a biker and a smoker and she was swearing, but she said, once I realized that other people's business was none of my fucking business, like she was just, because my life changed. And I just heard that so clearly. And I think I needed to hear that. I needed to hear what other people's business was none of my business. So I could actually spend time with me. When I first was on my own, people would say, "Oh, you got to go spend time with yourself." And I'm like, "No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't need to be by myself. I'm a community person. That's how I exist." Because I was terrified when, if I was real about it, I didn't even know how to be with myself. And so, and I don't think I liked. I did other work, and I found out like my inner Bobbi, my inner critic, she was a bully. Like here I talk about my life being so different because I was bullied. I had a bully inside of me that I had discovered. But that was all through different works. Like that was a course in weight loss, which was not just about weight loss, it was about all the weights and realizing it was like, wow, I am carrying some pretty harsh inner hate. Like I don't like that word, but it was so opposite of what I was presenting out in the world. So I'm more connected now, absolutely. Like I feel the most authentic I've ever been in my life for myself. I was always authentic to those around me, but for myself. And I think an answer to your question is, how does that come? I think it all comes together when we move on to the next side. And that journey while we're here is taking those times, learning those things about ourselves, being gentle as we get there, know that other people's business isn't our business, that the only thing we really can change in this world is ourselves. And I've also learned that the more I become the best version of myself, the better my relationships come with my kids and my family and my friends and and those relationships aren't so vast anymore. Like moving away to another city, I quickly learned who are really true friends in my life because they're the people that are still in my life. And that's okay too. And that's okay. When I see those other people, I'll love them up. I still care for them deeply, but it's just been that moving on. And I think it's giving ourselves permission to let go of some relationships as well. And it's external relationships, but it's also our internal relationships, like being okay. I think the the lady, couple speakers back, where she said, it's like really being real. Like what is the relationship and our truth? And I think sometimes our truth is the tricky part. But for me, it's just been by giving myself that opportunity to really get to know me on the inside and be okay with who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then staying present instead of it's tricky. I think I kind of get a little juice out of fear.
Yeah.
I hate it, but I get a little juice out of it. And so it's so easy for me sometimes to get caught up with what's out there. So I do not have a television. Like I do not watch TV. I sure I do a little bit of stream, but I pick what I want to see. And I guess maybe I don't, because who knows what technology does. Maybe it's picking what I want to see. I think I swear it knows what I'm thinking about sometimes. It's like, oh, how did that show up? But those moments of being outside, we are nature. I believe we are nature. I believe we all are to collaboratively. We're all a part of what one might call God, whatever we'd like to call it as a collective, whatever works for each individual. I think we have abilities and powers beyond what we know. And for me, I'm learning more of that because I'm dropping the story that I thought was important for me to be in this world and just really showing up and being the best version of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think really, what else can we ask for of ourselves in this life?
I think the biggest struggle that I have observed or experienced also with myself, I'm currently in a training, and the one little tidbit I will share with it is that children are here to get what they need from their parents. So if you are not getting what you need from that guide, teacher, custodian, the drill sergeant, the warden of your life that is your parents, to give you this relationship of how you're going to view the world, you're gonna keep asking and begging and be greedy for so much more in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you said that about, I'm a bully, I think a lot of people, when we are dealing with the shadow work of our industry, our creation, our stories, so many people think it's just, like, hi, I see you, I don't want to be you, I don't want this anymore, right? There's so much disconnect and mistrust with that light and dark, the yin and yang in our process of this, the good and evil, right? This layer in reclaiming is that you have to do the work if you are asking to unmask. And I think a lot of people, when they get in that stage, like you said, the fear kind of juices you in it. It's because it's at the base root. If you don't get grounded and deal with that survival totem or that layer or that chakra, that story is all what's going to store and stay. And, these layers that everybody's dealing with, like, you see a lot of people, myself included, there's a lot of weight gain. There's a lot of body absorption and sponging that's going on because the world is asking you, how much more are you going to take on? Because when you're not actually depositing this energy back into stories or these situations, you're not exchanging it for the health and the vitality and the abundance it actually has in store for you. So you have to come back into these layers and say, I am a bully. And this is an elder teaching, that there's an actual rite of passage in other teachings and cultures and tribes that I have witnessed, that you have to go in front of the elders and say, and the elder says, you are a thief. And you're like, no, I'm not. And they said, absolutely you are. You are a sticky finger, unbelievable, no good, tootin' rootin', like all those layers, right? So it's this discovery of I am a bully, I am a avoidant, I am a racist, I am a disbeliever, I am a manipulator. It's that discovery when you start to finally release, because you come from ancestral stories. Your DNAs, like you talked about the past lives, and I think a lot of people don't, like, when people heard that Shanice is doing this voodoo stuff and this mediumship and talking about like your other lifetimes, you have to come back into something in your soul knowing that, how do you just know this? How does a soul just mean so much to you when this is the first time connecting or meeting? Or why did something hurt you so deeply? Because that is something karmically we have to reclaim and pay back what was taken when we were unauthentic. And that
Right.
is a layer where so much of us that we're not being pausing and dealing with that ugly version that we think this work is, and just respecting that some of your practitioners, your pastor, your doctor, your parents, your teachers, your guru, your master, all these people are like, oh my God, I'm so disgusted. And it's such a disdain to the world that these people think they know it all. And oh, I hate her because she made me feel this way. You are getting opened up, like it or not, on how you have to see what's really inside of you. And I think a lot of the people that are journeying through this as practitioners or hairdressers or nurses or doctors or lawyers, everybody's feeling this punching bag energy right now, feeling like they're getting punched on everybody else's stories and why these clientele or these people are feeling like they're attacking. It's because they're hurt. They're scared. They can't believe that this is inside of them or a part of their story or how they have ever gotten this. And now they don't know where to go with it because there's not enough of their own experience of educating or validating or compassion to hold that, and knowledge maybe of their past lives that's triggering this so deeply that we're not able to reclaim as deep as the soul is asking. But it's also, like you're saying, it's sometimes up to that discovery for that person to journey with versus it taking it on us as practitioners or you as family members. You sometimes just have to let them be at the space that they need to be and respect that. And I have had the hardest years to learn that, and I'm still processing that, because we're all here with a different cosmic cocktail, contract, investment in this lifetime. So instead of us being this dictator of what they think they need to be, it's removing your stakes and your investments that you overgive to everything else. And you better start reclaiming that back into your space and realizing what you need in these four
Yeah.
walls.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And it is kind of a scary journey, right? Like even just hearing you say to me, I'm a bully, like, because I realized I was a bully to me. I'm not a bully to others, but I'm a bully to me. Well, and I'm not anymore. But then when I discovered that, and even hearing you say that, though, it still tweaks something in there. And I know there's something even for myself right now, because I look back and I love, like, I've been so successful. If I set a dream, like, they do come true. But it was usually regarding business. But when it comes to my own physical health, maybe, and my own well-being, and allowing, that beautiful man to come into my life, there's something that I'm doing without realizing it that's stopping that. like I look and I see, wow, like I completely created all these different things in my life that are out there for the public. Because to believe in the words of the ripple effect dance, actually, I think it was my son. They came to me, but boy, I thought it was a message to share with the world, but it's a message to share with myself. And it was it's so interesting. And I think there's still a part of me too where you say like you feel that. And it's like, yeah, I know there's another little niggly in there, and I don't really know that I want to address it. Right? Like I get out, so the little Pollyanna wants to sneak out again. But it has recently I have learned about this might be from my grandmother's grandmother's grandmother, and I was given a something to do to go back to that to see because I had somebody showing up. So, but yeah, it's
Okay, good.
a journey. It's a real journey, and I think even with what all we've talked about and where we've come from and where everybody's journey's on and respecting what other people's journey is, I think the message that's in the ripple effect, um, yeah, I think it's beautiful, and I really do believe that we could
Brody had.
probably change the world. I see that with love and respect.
Oh, cool.
You know, I would think that would be so amazing, and I know that the video is queued up and ready. So I just like to say, I'll just tell you the words that came to me because I still think while we're all going through whatever it is that we're going through, we could change the world with self-compassion, and we could change the world with just going, I don't know somebody's story. It's not my place to make a judgment because I just don't know what somebody's going on. And maybe they're showing up this way and it might not probably has nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if there's hurts and family dynamics, then that's a conversation. And sometimes that's tricky too, because it might not be a safe place to have the conversation. But there's people in our world, and that's what I learned with being, finding you in my life and others that have come, that there's places that we can have those safe conversations, even though they might not be with the people we hope they could be with. But someone recently asked me if I had a big dream, and I've had a few of them, but really it would be if we could all come together and just celebrate who we are just the way we are. And I think that comes to the self-compassion too. And yeah, do the work. It might hurt a little bit, and you're going to probably hear something you don't want to hear, but it might happen. So the ripple effect, this is the words that came to me. There are so many ways we can all make a difference. Helping each other, family and friends. There's so many choices. What's your preference? Paying it forward, there's really no end. Believe in yourself and respect each other. We're all the same, any which way, age, shape, and color. This dance is called the ripple effect for changing the world with love and respect. This dance is called the ripple effect. Staying together. Oh, good, Merle. So love, 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 anytime or anywhere. Love, 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 together forever. This dance is called the ripple effect. We're staying together with love and respect. The idea, my friends, is all about the effect, who you choose to be and how you reflect. So what kind of ripple do you want to begin? I know you've got it somewhere within. So let's all dance so everyone's winning. Clap your hands and start spinning and spinning. Take these steps and start shaking and grooving. Before we all know it, the whole world will be moving. Dance is called the ripple effect. So it's been so long since I did it, I even screwed up my own words. But and I think it's out there and it's in here. And I just I appreciate the work that you're doing. I think it's important that we do the digs. You've made me do that a few times. We've had some good ones where it's just like, it's like, okay, yeah. And I have a couple other dear friends that have helped me do that kind of stuff. But it's finding the people that can be your safe places to be. Trust yourself. Be loving and kind to yourself as best as you can. And what ripple would you like to create out there in this big world that we have, that we are, in my belief, we are all connected. So right now I kind of look at we're a big web. And some of us are really, really freaking out in this web right now because we really have no idea what's going on. And some of us are just trying to stay still and present. And that comes into being with yourself. So thank you for having me. I know Brody's got the video queued up. This dance, I visualized it'd be 20,000 people. There would be twins. There would be different ethnic backgrounds. I lived in Nanaimo. There was not a lot of different ethnic backgrounds. And even though it came together with the group that you're going to see, it still was exactly as I visualized, all the things that I wanted to have happen. So just keep believing in what your dream is and where you'd like to go as yourself and what your service is to this world. Now I do head massage. So I've gone from, people say, how do you go from a clown to head massage? And it's like, well, they both make people feel good. So, and if I can help in that, that's great. It's just now I have boundaries and I also help myself to feel good. And no is a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for having me. The ripple effect dance, it would still be a dream that that would turn into an international, dance movement. I
You know
think
what,
it would be so exciting.
I honestly, Bobbi, I feel like when I set out this whole thing about, the largest online conference, like obviously we have some great views going on, all of these people around the world happening. But honestly, I think this is the whole intention. We just had to plop it in Nanaimo, plop the story. Now we're doing this bigger woo moving.
Yeah.
And push is going to happen because this is going to ripple out. This is the statement. And that is where my biggest prayer to you is that before the good old up above wants to make you into our guiding star in many years to come, my prayer is that this ripple effect is international, and that we are not going to save the world. We're not going to change it all in one night, but we are going to ripple out. And that is where we have hopefully more of our generations that get to sleep easier at night, know that they are safe and they are loved, that they don't have to wear these masks as hard as we had to. And that is because you rippled that exact vibration out. And I just, as a true, authentic operating projector, that is my biggest wish, is to have that out there and to be in so many more hands. So any of you who really are going to take these next moments to listen to the song, there is so many other people that have asked about some questions of how does this help and work with people. We're going to let the song do its movement. And we did have another viewer ask, how do you become an Ayurvedic head massage? So,
Oh, okay. That was a training that I had done. I had a big story about not being able to learn. So I had a head massage and I loved it. And I thought, okay, this is the thing I'm going to learn. So you can look locally. There's many people that do teach it, and you have to do some case studies, but it's not as intense as like an RMT. I'm not an RMT. And for me, it's also a lot of intuitive. But in Ayurveda, the head is the root system of the body. So if we take care of our head, and that's what we're all talking about here, the head and the heart, then it helps take care of everything. So yeah, just look it up locally. There's quite a few different spaces different areas that you can learn that. And
do you teach that?
no, I do not teach it. No,
Okay.
not at this point. Maybe one day. No,
Right.
I'm still, yeah.
Well, Bobbi is
but
a great to hear out and just journey, and please go get a service. It is something that you
yeah,
will never
I'm
get.
in Victoria, so it's kind of tricky to get it remotely, but I don't know, maybe I'll figure out a way to do that one day too. It's just energetics. But yeah, and just the song, I believe I'm just the channel that brought the song forward. I think it's to be taken away and created in whatever way it is. And it is available on all the downstream or all the live streamings of music. So Spotify, Amazon, all of those places where music is. I would just love it if people got together and their kids and they danced and they just shared videos of them dancing to the song and coming together and having fun and really just love and respect for ourselves and for each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's again, the word honor is going to be thrown out all day today, but it is a huge blessing and honor to have it. And everybody, we're going to get you to stand up, enjoy it. We're going to be moving out
Dance
here.
along.
And yeah, Brody, bring us live into our movement.
Thank you for having me, and all the best of the season, everyone.
You
Thank
bet.
Namaste.
Ripple effect dance in 3, 2, 1.
So I guess what we're going to do is we're going to go this way. Okay, so when we're doing our turn, the first turn,
There are many ways we can all make a difference. Helping each other, family, friends. There are many choices. What's your preference? Paying it forward, there's really no end. Believe in yourself and respect each other. We're all the same. Any which way, each shape or color. This dance is called the ripple effect. Moving together while we all connect. This dance is called the ripple effect. We're changing the world with love and respect. So love, 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 anytime or anywhere. So love, 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 together forever. This dance is called the ripple effect. We're changing the world with love and respect. We're changing the world with love and The idea, my friends, it's all about the effect. Who you choose to be and how you reflect. So what kind of ripple do you want to begin? I know that you've got it somewhere within. Let's all dance so everyone's winning. Clap your hands and start spinning and spinning. Take these steps and start shaking and grooving. Before we all know it, the whole world will be moving. Believe in yourself and respect each other. We're all the same. Any which way, each shape or color. We're changing the world with love and respect.
Incredible.
You know what was funny about that is we ended up changing the song because we were going to work with a dance company that needed more texture to it. So when we did the launch, the kids saw themselves dancing to a different version of the song, and it was a lot of different editing. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. It just warms my heart, and it should be fun. And I might consider performing again. I realized being in the parades this year, I'm really missing the kids and performing, but we'll see. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you for this awesome ripple effect. And everybody, hopefully you got a good, tasty noon sandwich here on the Mountain Standard Time, and we are ready to just keep diving on in. So thank you again, Bobbi.
Thank you so much. All the best, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. You too.